Do you ever feel like no matter how hard or smart you work, your money just doesn't stretch far enough? Because the prices of groceries keep going up, fuel prices keep rising, and school fees, well, that goes up each and every year. But your salary just doesn't follow the same trend. Nobody ever tells you about. The integrity of your money is being pillaged by a group of private actors for profit. Very powerful institutions that sit high above government. In today's episode, we are talking about the ultimate source in the rise of the cost of living, the Bank for International Settlements, the Bank for Central Banks. Welcome to The Money Revolution, the podcast where we empower one another to build wealth through the sharing of information and ideas about how money really works. Shout out to our episode sponsors, Stokvel Gold. Stokvel Gold is an authorized dealer in gold and silver, registered with the Financial Intelligence Center, and they assist us with all our gold and silver purchases. Mo Africa, we have spoken about how central banks like the South African Reserve Bank act as issuers of currencies, pulling strings through interest rates and monetary supply. We have also spoken at length about how central banks lend money to your regular banks and also to governments. But the question is, what happens when these central banks need to borrow money in order to sustain their own lending operations? And this is where the Bank for International Settlements comes in. Established back in 1930 in Basel, Switzerland, the BIS was originally set up to manage Japanese reparation payments right after World War I. I think that we can all agree that it was set up with very noble intentions. But in today's world, the BIS has become a global financial powerhouse. The BIS has 63 central banks as its members, including our very own South African Reserve Bank. And it essentially handles all these central banks' reserves, it loans them money, and also manages all their gold transactions. Yes, even these central banks borrow money. They borrow it from the BIS. And just like central banks, the BIS creates money out of thin air and lends it to central banks. The BIS used to hold its capital in gold francs, but nowadays it uses only paper currency that they call special drawing rights. The BIS lends central banks these SDRs when a central bank finds itself in financial trouble. The central banks create more money and lend it to governments and retail banks, whereas retail banks create more money and lends it to you and I. At each and every stage, interest payment is charged. The interest in and of itself doesn't exist. But however, to cover it, the system simply creates more money, and then the cycle continuously repeats itself. And let me tell you this, Africa, when too much money is being created without any real value backing it, the prices of goods and services will rise. And that is exactly what we have been experiencing, and we refer to it as inflation. And that's why your pockets essentially feel lighter and lighter as each and every year go by. And because this system flows all the way up here to South Africa, it isn't just a local problem, it is a global phenomenon. The BIS just doesn't hold reserves of different nations' central banks. It essentially sets the rules of the financial banking game. Through the Basel framework, it dictates how much money banks must keep in its reserves and how they must operate internationally. And now, the BIS is behind the push for a global digital currency, a very own central bank digital currency, or CBDC. It sounds very futuristic, right? But here is a very worrying truth that you and I must be aware of.
The challenge with CBDC is it gives the central bankers complete control and the ability to program your money. What it does is it gives them the ability to say what you can use your money for, where you can use your money. It's called programmable money. Some people call it smart contracts. I call it very stupid contracts. But it gives you the ability to issue programmable money and do complete surveillance and control of where and how people use their money.
A central bank digital currency isn't just money that you swipe on your card or tap on your phone. It's money that is susceptible to programming. Now think about it like this. What if payday comes around and instead of you having full control of your income, the system decides how you can use it? It decides what you can buy, where you can buy from, and how much of one thing or the other you can buy with your very own digital money. Maya Ethel Rothschild once said, "Give me control over a nation's currency and I care not who makes the laws." And that is the reality of what we live in today. The BIS has its hands on the strings of every central bank, and by extension, your wallet. And the question to ask here in Africa is, what do you do with this information about the BIS? Do you just throw your hands up? No. You start building independence. Start by getting control of your own spending. And this is because inflation means that the prices of goods and services will continuously be rising. Africa, history has shown us time and time again that when currencies weaken, precious metals stand firm. They do not get printed out of thin air, and they do not lose their worth just like the paper money does. Every gram of gold or silver that you set aside is locking your wealth into a vault that inflation will never touch. Let me tell you this, the financial game in its current form is rigged. The BIS isn't just another bank. It's the puppet master of the puppet masters. And as long as your money is created out of thin air, the prices of your bread, the prices of your meat, and school fees will continue to rise. But you don't have to sit back and take it as it is, Africa. The time to act is now. Protect your wealth, build independence, and never ever forget that real value comes from assets that have stood the test of time. Gold and silver, and your ability to take control of your own financial destiny. Africa, Tell us what you think. Do you trust a system where your money is controlled from Switzerland? Tell us in the comments how you are planning to protect your money from inflation. And once again, thank you for joining us on this episode of The Money Revolution. If this episode, for whatever reason, opened your eyes, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone that you love. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you never miss our weekly episode upload. Let's wake up the masses. Let's understand how money really works and take back our financial muscle power one conversation at a time. And remember, if it's paper, it will perish.